Hello lovely people, happy summer solstice. Oh, it's already so bright. It's only about 7:30 in the morning. The birds are all in fine voice. It's going to be a gorgeous day and it's going to be the longest day. Oh, wonderful. Best day of the year, isn't it? Anyway, how are you all? I do hope you are well. It's been 2 weeks. Goodness me. I just wanted to bring this video to you today, a little catch up in the garden and a record of this year's summer solstice. But then there's going to be a little gap again between videos, another week or so. Still a bit like, juggling lots and lots. But never mind that for now. We're here today and that's what matters. Little things keep catching my eye, little bits of movement. There's a bit of breeze today, which is lovely. It's literally 2 weeks and the change is remarkable. In that last video, I was saying how if we just had a bit of warmth, it would help things to get going. If we just had a bit of rain, well, we haven't had the rain. We have had rain. We've had 2 lots of rain. Not a huge amount, not as much as some folk have had, but a bit. Yay! Enough to fill up the water butt again, although it's now emptying. So yeah, not much by way of rain, but oh my goodness, the warmth. We got a lot warmer. We've had a couple of days down here that were sort of 32. Do you maths, 64, but about 94, mid-90s Fahrenheit. So we have been having the warmth, and you can probably tell from the colour of my skin. I've been out here a lot, trying to make the most of it, trying to catch this garden up. So we're going to go and have a look now. But again, just to recap, 2 weeks ago, I was thinking about this as I was walking down here this morning. 2 weeks ago, I had 8 beds seeded. That was it. And some of them weren't doing brilliantly well. The Coco Bed had been massacred by slugs. Some of the climbing beans, the helder, hadn't germinated at all. The beetroot and salad beds, they weren't really doing anything. But yeah, I had 8 beds seeded. Now we're going to have a look at the garden and we'll see that I have 20. Yes, 20 beds. Was that nice, Rusty? Rosie's over there, Rusty's here. Obviously we've had cat cuddles already, yes, but I've got 20 beds seeded, planted, an almost empty cold frame. What a huge difference. I hope you'll enjoy seeing it with me. Just bear in mind, for those of you with your own gardens or who watch other gardens on YouTube, my garden is, I would say, a good month, maybe even in some cases 6 weeks behind other gardens that you will have been seeing. But it's catching up. And anyway, we shouldn't really compare, should we? I was thinking about it because my pals next door, they planted their courgettes on, I think it was the 1st of May, or I think it was the 6th of May, they planted their courgettes out in the garden. I hadn't even put my seeds in at that stage. Anyway, yes, so I am quite behind a lot of other gardens you will have been seeing on YouTube and in your allotments. That's okay. This is my garden, and you know what? I'm chuffed with where it's at the moment. 20 beds! Come on, let's go and see what's happened to the garden in the last 2 weeks. No, this isn't my plot. It's not changed that much. I just wanted to show you these gorgeous escultia in this morning sunshine. Aren't they pretty and happy? Lovely, lovely splash of colour. Now, last time you saw my plot, this first bed was full of the Limnanthes Douglasii, the poached eggplants. But now it's not. Should we play Spot the Difference? Yay! Let me just bring you right to the top of the garden. Just have a shot of the whole garden for a second. An entire garden planted. I could not be happier. But let's look in a bit more detail. So these are obviously my tomatoes have gone in. They already need their side shoots doing. You can see that, yeah, side shoots need doing. Brilliant. It's tomato care season. When I put the tomatoes in, I underplanted, can you just see along the edge here, with some rock and core beans. These are bush beans. So as they grow, as the tomatoes grow, and I remove the lower leaves of the tomatoes, that should make space for the rock and core beans in both of these. And then I forgot to put them in that one. I could pop some in, I suppose, couldn't I? Amazingly, this is what I mean about that heat that we had. Obviously I was putting the seed into warm soil, and keeping the beds as thoroughly moist as I could, but those showed their faces after just 3 days. I was astonished. The size of them now, this is them after, I think it must be about 7 or 8 days now. Gosh, they're raring to go. Same with the tomatoes under here. The cardboard at the edges, way down with the wood, that's nothing fancy pants, that's purely, I don't want to leave ground bare, so it's acting as a bit of a weed suppressant. And then, if we were to get a load of rain, it's just helping to shade the bed to sort of slow down, evaporation. Actually, that weekend that we had that was in the 30s, 32 degrees or so, I dashed down here on the Friday. The heat was due to come on the Saturday and Sunday. It actually came on the Friday. And at that time, the beds down there were seeded. I grabbed all the shade nets I could and did a really, really, really thorough soaking of all the beds that were seeded and put shade nets on them. The shade nets ostensibly to help prevent that evaporation of the water. Now, the 2 calendula beds, oh my goodness, spot the difference here. My own saved seed, 3 packets of bought seed. I think this is one variety, and so there are 3 varieties in here if I remember correctly. There's one in here, sort of here and here, another variety here, and then one variety 2 rows, and it's absolutely rubbish. So I think I've got a spare couple of squash plants. I might pop some squash plants in, and the calendula that have come up can fight their way through the foliage. But my calendula, as they do every year, are looking absolutely grand. I mean, there's a couple of smallish gaps, but by the time they're up another foot and all flowery and blousy, these gaps won't really notice. I mean, it's really quite a stark contrast, isn't it? So if you do have success with your calendula, do leave a wee patch of them at the end of the year for your own seed saving. I mean, it's so easy to save the seeds. You just let the flowers go over and then kind of rub the head in your fingers like that to rub the seeds out. Pop them on a saucer in a dry place. Let them, thoroughly dry out. Pop them in a paper packet. Next year, get them out the packet, chuck them in the ground, and this happens. Couldn't be easier. So bed number 2. This is some odds and ends of chard. In each there's like sort of 5 clumps. In each clump there's 1 or 2 or 2 or 3 little seedlings. So they will massively bush out. Yay! But what I'm really yay about is I didn't think I was going to have any brassicas at all this year. And I was offered some. One of my neighbours, Jamie, offered me some. At first I thought he was offering me winter brassicas, so I said no, because I didn't know that I'd be down here in the winter. And then he said, no, they're summer things. So I said, oh gosh, yes please. So I've got 4 summer cabbages in the front, and then along the back that's 5 tender stem broccoli. Yum, yum, yum. Gosh, Jamie, thank you so much. It's one of the things I absolutely love about communal gardening. I was just saying about popping my spare squash. I might pop one in, But I think I'm hoping I might have 3 or 4 spares, because I've got new neighbours. Well, they're next door to Gary. Great guys, really nice guys. But of course, at this time of year, getting an allotment, they haven't got anything to plant. And it's a bit late to sow things. So we're all trying to find spares to give them. Anyway, okay, first of the squash. I've got my biggies in this back row. So that's 2 Muscat de Provence. And that is a Long Island cheese. At home, in my kitchen, still being stored, I have last year's Long Island cheese and 1 of the Muscat. I've already eaten the other Muscat de Provence. Beautiful. But yeah, so these were all in the cold frame until a few days ago. They've only been in, about 3 days or so. So they'll take they'll take a little while to settle in, but they look at this new leaf. They're looking really robust and healthy. I mean, they might be smaller than others you've seen in other videos, like I said, but they'll catch up. I'm absolutely sure of it. Oh, hold on, stepping up. I've got very rubbish knees today. You'll notice I've got the slug halos. In case you haven't seen these before, these are the little slug halos. They've got a little lip on them, so the slugs go along underneath, slide up the side, and then they can't manage that lip. These turquoisey coloured ones are actually borrowed from the girls next door. I do have some, but I didn't have enough, and they said, well, we've finished using ours now, because their plants are so established and gorgeous. So they've loaned me their slug halos, and it wasn't a quid pro quo, but I happened to have loaned them a load of my blue piping for their kale. So we've each got each other's kit in our gardens. How nice. And then this is a noisy aeroplane. Hang on, I'm doing my little crab dance down the path sideways. These 2 beds with 4 in each, that's all courgette. Yum. Yum, yum, yum. Oh, I can't wait. And like I said, I know there are some folk who've got courgette producing already, but give them a chance. It's early days. And you know what might happen is when everyone else's courgettes are finished, I'll still be having courgettes. Okay, then this front bed. This is, how many have I got in it? 6. This is cucumbers. I haven't built them a frame this year. They can just scramble, and the straw will sort of, just protect them from getting squished and mushy on the floor. You see the difference in colour. So that's the ones from the girls. These are mine that were gifted. Thank you so much, gorgeous. They're they're quite a lot lighter in weight. So you'll see the rebar across them. That's just to hold them down, to make sure as the foxes run crashing through my garden. Oh my goodness, the foxes are mental this year. We seem to have the naughtiest cubs ever. And every day, I've had a bit of a clear up of our path already, but every day the path is littered with clothing, shoes, gloves, food packets. It's all through the beds. Ugh. So yeah, the rebar is on there just to hold them down a bit. That one's looking tiny, but yeah, these are all looking good. They're all looking absolutely fine. Good, really sort of healthy, dark, happy, vigorous growth in the tips. Just let them do their thing. Gosh, if we had some decent rain, things would really start romping away. But in the absence of rain, me and my watering hands. Now, the Coco Bed. When you saw this 2 weeks ago, it had about 10 plants in it. So I reseeded the whole bed. Oh, it's one of my little bits of Purbeck stone from my grandparents' garden. Just as decoration where I didn't have any germination. Yes, that counts as decoration to me. It's a beautiful stone. And just the sight, the colour, the texture of that makes me think of their village with that lichen developing, and oh, lovely. I digress. I resowed the Coco de Pampol, and You can tell the difference. Let me come down here. So you see, that's one of the originals. That's one that I just sowed. But again, I think partly thanks to that heat, the second sowings jumped up. I mean, they are tardy. They are smaller. I've got a friend down the path a ways whose cocoa are double the size, but then his was started earlier, so there we go. Anyway, I'm happy that so many of the second sowing came up, and where I've got gaps, I'll put salad leaves and other bits, spinach, other things. I've done some second sowings of salads. I'll show you shortly. Okay, so this is the rest of the squash. It's 2 rows of butternut, and then in here I've got, well, we can read the labels, 2 jack-o'-lanterns. Does what it says on the tin. And then that's a sugar pumpkin. Is that the right name? I'm not sure. I'll have to check. And I had 1 golden nugget seed left from last year. Here again, you can see they've put on some good growth. They're all kind of standing up and looking firm and proud and good. I'm happy. Just happy to get them in. Now, again, with the cardboard is a bit of mulch, but also, you know, where do you store all your bricks that you use in the winter? Where do you store them all in the summer? Just store them around the beds. What I'm hoping as well is by having all the bricks around all the beds is that, because like I said, the foxes have been really naughty this year, and I've watched them just crashing through the beds. This, you know, straw flung everywhere. I'm just hoping that the bricks might sort of stop them in their tracks. I don't mean to hurt them. I don't mean like that, but hopefully it's just a little bit of a barrier so that if they are running, they'll sort of put the skids on a bit and slow down and not whack into all my plants. But yeah, they just all look really healthy and well, and just need to get growing. Simple as that. The climbing beans I also resowed. Now, most of these had been okay, but you can see, for instance, on the end here, that was where I resowed a gap. They've come up. So all the resowings came up, and something else I want to show. Let's just have a little look at this one. You see, that is at 6 feet tall now already. So yeah, they're mostly getting away. Morning, Rosie. But what I'm chuffed about in this bed is some self-seeders. Look what has self-seeded. It's a fennel and warbler. Another one right next to the path. I don't care. I saw the little seedlings coming up, and this is what I mean about really getting to know your seed leaves and your weed leaves, because as soon as it was up a couple of centimetres, I knew it was fennel and not a weed. So when I was weeding, I made sure to leave it in. Woohoo! Now, if you remember, the second frame of beans was particularly terrible. This was Helder, and there was 0 germination. So these are all plug-ins. I didn't have any spare gigantes to plug in any gaps. Oh no, maybe I had 2. Yes, that looks like 2 that I used to plug in. And again, I mean, they're starting to get away. So that's got to be about 4 foot up. This one's got to be at about, that's got to be 5 foot already. Another plug-in on the end. So, I mean, it's not as lush as the other set of canes, but there's something. And this is that thing about, you know, doing a second sowing. Don't be afraid to repeat sow. And even if you think, oh gosh, surely it's a bit late, you know what? You never know. Chuck it in. Now, the carrot bed I wasn't getting any carrots, so I sowed it with spinach. And I had about 4 show up. all the spinach that I module sowed, which was coming on along beautifully, it all bolted. Literally everybody on site, their spinach has bolted. So I've got oh, there's one little clump there, one there, one there. It's a whole bed. So I had a couple of spare tomatoes. I've put those in here. But when I was watering, I noticed, and I'm thinking, are you a carrot? I think you might be a carrot. Oh my goodness, one single carrot, are you kidding me? I'm going to plate it in gold and mount it on the wall. Never mind. But yeah, it started as a carrot bed, and then it was going to be a spinach bed, and now it's a tomato bed. The messages don't give up. Definitely don't give up. Okay, so yeah, beans not. I mean, when you look at these in comparison with those, you can see there's quite a difference in lushness, growth, germination. Yes, never mind. And then, oh, just look at this though. The lavender is almost across the path already. Love it. Okay, this bed I'm really pleased with. Again, the rebar is down on these halos just to stop them either blowing away or stop the foxes from scattering them. But this is all fennel. Look, gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Now, I'd always been led to believe that fennel should be sown in situ, never transplant, it hates it. But these were all grown in those little modules I have. And, you know, grown on quite, so they had a couple of their true fronds and then popped into this bed, and they all seem to, yeah, they don't seem to have minded. In fact, on all of them, let me see if I can show you on here. This is new growth. That might be easy to show you on here. See this little gorgeous brush down here? That's new growth. So when it went in a few days ago, it just had these frondy bits. That's new growth. That tells me it's happy. Woohoo! And some of them, where they're in the module, I put 2 seeds in per module. And in some cases, the second seed was really, really pathetic. I pulled it out. In others, it didn't germinate, and in some, it looked pretty good and healthy. So I've actually left them. So there's 2 in there, for instance. 2 in there. 2 in there. They'll just kind of nudge each other sideways a bit as they start to fatten up. I hope they fatten up. So yeah, I'm really, really happy to have the fennel in. And, oh, excuse me, I've actually given them a bit more space this year than in previous years, because I can't remember, I think it was 2019, popping over to Kew with Richard and Paul, looking at their fennel bed. Their fennel had loads of space. So yeah, a bit more space this year. 30 centimetres or so between each plant, if not a little more. Then we come to this chard, lovely chard. Again, they're, oh, sorry, I am wobbly girl today. Again, they're in clumps where there's 2 or 3 little seedlings in each clump, so they'll really bush out. But, do you remember, I showed you 2 little self-seeded beans. So I grabbed, remember the obelisk that a neighbour gave me, was chucking out, and I had it in one of my big pots one year for sweet peas, and obviously the big pots have now got blueberries in, and I suddenly thought, oh, I can just whack that in here, because then if the beans don't come to much, well, this is just a nice bit of height, bit of architectural interest, you might say, and another bit of purbeck. This bed, oh my goodness, this bed was seeded with 2 rows of beetroot, 2 rows of lettuce. Nothing for the whole bed. So with these beetroot, these are all the ones that were in the tray. And I sowed them quite sort of separately in the tray. So they came out almost as little plugs. They've suffered a bit, I think, for the intense heat they only went in a couple of days ago, and I think just the intense heat when they went in, so they look a little bit shiveldy, but I think they'll come back, they'll be fine. All the lettuce, again the germination was pretty shocking, so I've resown, I'll show you in a sec. And then this bed, oh, morning shadow, so you can see there's lots of biggish beetroot. They were all the module sown ones, so they were put in as plugs, because again this was 2 rows of sown beetroot, 2 rows of salad for succession. Now you can see there are lots of little beetroot seedlings coming up. Great. What that means is that by the time I've had the big ones away and scoffed, these little ones have got a chance to grow. A little bit of the salad came through. What's really hard to pick up is over there, is the mizuna. Let's see if it's easier to see in this bit. Can you just about make it? It looks like seaweed, doesn't it? So that is coming. So yeah, there's little bits coming throughout, but not a huge amount of salady stuff. So I have, let's just go. Oh, and it's been lovely to get the shears sharpened and get my edges and my paths sorted. We haven't really had to trim because, well, frankly, the grass is not growing. I mean, look at the colour of it. Grass always amazes me at its ability to come back after, drought. In the cold frame, this is the odds and ends of squash and courgettes. They were, I think when I was doing the tour 2 weeks ago with you, these hadn't even germinated. So they're really tardy. There's 1, 2, 3, 6 squash and 1 lowly courgette. They can just sit there for now, and if they decide to start doing something, I can have, I can have 1 or 2 of the spares into that calendula bed, and then the others I can give to our new lads who have been working so hard already. It's been such an incredibly hot few days, but they've been out here cracking on in the wilderness of a plot that they've taken over. Now over on this side this is 2 lots of modules seeded with lettuce, various lettuce. Hopefully some will do something. I've also got a tray here that's sown with spinach. Oh my goodness, the light this morning. Oh, gorgeous. It's still so early as well. Look, the verbena has shot up. Gorgeous flowers. Can you see as well the tree lily? I forgot to look at the top one again. See how its buds are fattening up. I've had tons and tons of harvests from the rhubarb. I might leave it now just to get its strength back. The verbena in here, which was here I think in the last tour 2 weeks ago, is now all the way up through the rows and coming out the other side. Oh, it's so lovely. The blueberry bushes, I was mentioning how this one has not got as much fruit on as the other one. It's a variety called Duke, which is a self-fertile variety, so it doesn't need a different variety with it. And I think you can tell from this one, I mean, look, it's a ridiculous amount of fruit. I'm just going to stand here, you can just take it all in. It's bonkers. I am, though, I think I need to tie this back a bit, because this morning, whilst watering, I've brushed past and knocked off a load of berries. No! It's just... And as they start to turn, yes, of course, I will cover them. I've got some tulle I can put over so that I get them before the boidies. Oh, lovely. You're right, Rusty. It's not a very shady spot. I guess he'll look for the shade later. But yes, wow. So, here we are, 2 weeks later. And I'm going to sort of say, well, yeah, that's a completely transformed garden. Oh, I'm chuffed. I'm chuffed to bits. Let's have a little sit, just as we did in that last video. Just let me get sat down here on my deck. Ow, ow, ow. You see the, oh, there goes Kay's cat, Monroe. He's such a naughty cat. I didn't show you on one of the bean poles. He ran, I don't know what was up with him. He was chasing Rosie and he smacked into the bean pole and snapped it clean in half. So I need to replace one of my bean poles. Never mind. Yeah, I love this moment when the lavender, the buds are starting to appear really strongly. As in, you can see their colour now. Oh, lovely. They're a ways off opening, but yeah, gorgeous. Oh, and the light glinting off the insect drinking station. I don't think it's catching on camera. Don't forget to put water out for all the critters. I need to do some deadheading of the chives and deadheading of the nigella. I need to do some tomato cares, nipping out my side shoots and tying them in. I need to do a bit more taming of my neighbour's wild hedge. But otherwise, this is the part of the year I love, when the entire garden is planted, and at the moment it's fairly weed free. Now it's all about maintenance, watering, tinkering. Oh, I love that bit, the tinkering. And the thing is, as the plants get more and more established, watering will, instead of being a daily activity, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. Yes, instead of being a daily activity, it can be every other day, a really good deep soak, and then maybe leave them for 3 days. But at the moment there are things which, you know, especially the beetroot, they're still quite small and they've only been in a few days, so they need a bit more care. But essentially, I can now turn my attention to other things. Of course, I have been getting on with other things. I juggle the garden with everything else. But yes, there's still a lot on my plate, which is why I'm not going to be back to regular videos just quite yet. Just a few more days and then I'll be back to regular stuff. So until then, I'm going to wish you all very happy gardening in your own gardens and wish you all very relaxed. Are you looking for somewhere to hide? Somewhere shady, Rosie? Yes, just lovely, relaxing times outside with the sound of the birds, or your cats or your dogs or whoever your furry companions are. Whatever you get up to, I hope you can relax while you're doing it. I'll see you again before too long, I hope. Until then, cheerio.